Hello everybody and welcome to episode 28 of Competitive Magic with the Karnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me today we have the full Karnies squad. So let me introduce them one at a time. From Spain, the world champion, Javier Dominguez.
Hello everyone.
And then we have the champions of the Australia-New Zealand championship. We have both of them here today. We have Anthony Lee.
Yo.
And we have Zen Takahashi.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So you might not know, but the Karnies group, it's not just me, Javier, and Anthony. Like, this podcast has been going on for 27 episodes. There's also Zenny, but he's a very busy man, also lives on the opposite side of the world. I mean, just saying that he didn't want to join the podcast. But today we were like, you have to be on the cast because we want to, have the champion of the Australian and New Zealandese championship. Does that have a name?
Yeah, Australia.
No. I mean the organizers. Do they have a name?
Well, at the rate that Kiwis
A-
are top 8ing these, it's basically a New Zealand tournament, I think.
Ooh. Are there more New Zealandese in the top 8 in the last time?
No, of
No,
course
there
not.
isn't, but
That'd be
I think there
ridiculous.
was 3 in top 8, and we were probably like 10% of the field, or even less than that.
Sure, but there's a selection bias effect. Only the New Zealanders that are good enough to travel that far distance. I mean, I think no, they're absolutely. I mean, they're basically Australian anyway. But to answer Mengu's question, I think it's the ANZ MTG Super Series by Good Games.
Was there ever a war between Australia and New Zealand?
Of course not. What do you think?
Okay. No, I don't know. Maybe there was, and some of them won, so we could have used some historical.
Oh, some historical context? No, there was never any
Yeah.
war, but I think we all know how that would go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nonetheless,
Oh no,
welcome
maybe sorry. There
everyone.
was a war. There was a war. I remember. There's a lot of famous documentaries about it. Do you know them?
Was it the war against the ostrich?
No. That's Australia. No, I'm talking about the war against the Dark Lord on his dark throne.
The Lord of the Ring war?
Yeah.
Nice one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be. I heard it's gonna be a magic set.
See, that's
soon.
topical. That's good. See.
That's good. You stayed on brand. All those Gandalf the Grey and Lord of the Ring, the actual ring has been printed. Those cards would be amazing and will revolutionize the modern and legacy metagame. But we don't talk about those things
Yeah,
here.
not
We
yet,
talk
yeah.
about standard because this episode is actually going to be full standard. Because
Oh my
a lot
god!
of
It's
things happened.
finally happening.
It's a lot of things happening this 2 weekends, so we're gonna just unpack everything. First and foremost, the 4 people in this episode qualified for the Pro Tour. So in Minneapolis, if you're coming,
Oh,
if you're coming, you will meet the full Karnies. You can take a picture with us. You can ask to, I don't know, sign your T-shirt. We'll be doing that. Have
T-shirt.
you ever signed
Out
a
of
T-shirt?
all the things that we could sign, magic cards, playmats, tokens, whatever, you went with T-shirt.
I actually have, and I can tell you it's pretty hard. Like you
Yeah, it's
just
very-
cannot like
yeah.
you have to like put something behind it, like like a thick thing, because otherwise like the Sharpie thing, like it doesn't stick on the texture of the shirt, so it's actually not easy.
Me, I would say I signed one when I was in Dallas, and it was easy. But I think the person had like abdominals, so it was maybe a little bit easier.
Well, you mean like the shirt was on the person? No, I meant just a shirt, not the shirt of the person.
Oh no! I was signing a person.
Wow, that's what a sick flex in a very literal sense. Just being like, yeah, I'm just so hard that you can actually sign my shirt while I'm wearing it. But
Actually, yeah, true.
that is a literal
Yeah.
flex. Yeah.
At GP Kuala Lumpur,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm. Go on.
Go.
at GP Kuala Lumpur a few years ago, someone asked me to sign their playmat, and then I did. And then after the match, they were like, "Oh, I'm surprised that you speak such good English." And he was like,
Me too.
I really like that Legacy deck that you played. And then I realized that I think he got me confused with Yuta Takahashi. But then I didn't have I didn't have the heart to tell him that he probably got me confused with someone else. So I was like, oh yeah, no, all good. Yeah, I really like that deck too.
You know. Now I'm
Was
going
it-
to ask you to sign my Fairy Mastermind, right? Like that's
Yeah,
gonna happen now. Yeah.
It's the card that I designed.
Good job.
Was it a European person?
No, it was like a local Malaysian player.
Oh, okay. All right, Karnies. So yeah, we were in Discord channels practicing for standard. Zen practiced with an open group, right? How did you organize your testing for your regional championships then?
Yeah, so at our first regional championships last year, we sort of put together a team of about 10 Australian sort of Kiwis. And we did quite well. We put 2 people into Pro Tour invites, and David Mines unfortunately lost to Anthony in the finals to miss out on the Worlds
What
invite.
do you mean
so
unfortunate?
it was very unfortunate. I was rooting hard for Minesy. But so for this,
Did Anthony get lucky?
No.
nah, I think he just had a better deck.
Yes.
But-
It was way better.
For this one, we decided to sort of keep the same crew, but about half the team couldn't make it just for, various personal reasons. So we were like, oh shit, we're sort of don't have enough people to work with. So I kind of just made a tweet basically being like, hey, if anyone's qualified for the RC in other regions and wants to work together, I'll set up this Discord and everyone can get in on it. And I was pretty surprised by sort of the number of responses I got, both number of people, but also the quality of players. And so we ended up having this sort of online collaboration group, and we had a number of, quite good and notable players from overseas, like Nick Price, who ended up qualifying on the same weekend as us, Dom Harvey, JS2 from Korea. It was really good.
Nice. I also wanted to. I guess I was meant to do it at the beginning. I just kind of wanted to tell the listener the stories of us because we call ourselves the Karnies, and as we explained in the first episode, like many weeks ago, the Karnies name comes from GP Lille 2018, where we made this group chat practicing for the tournament with the standard tournament. And we ended up playing with a lot of Carnage Tyrant. I believe 3+1 in the sideboard. So we called the team Karnie with the C. And then we changed it to Karnie with the K because then a GP a couple of weeks later, Javier wanted to play Karn Liberated. Is that right, Javier?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
kind of related. But
What
could be other
happened-
card. I'm not sure.
What happened was that Mangu, maybe approximately 95% of Magic players really hates Tron. And me and Javier started seriously thinking about playing Tron, whether playing Tron at the upcoming GPs would make sense. So once Mengu was asleep, I just changed everything in our group chat to be Khan. I changed the profile picture to a Khan, and then I changed the spelling of the name Karnies so that when Mengu woke up, he would be horrified when he read all of our messages being like, you know what, I think maybe we should just play Tron this GP. And, then we just left it like that. So we are in dedication to Khan Liberated and just Tron in general, our favorite
I actually played Tron in the GP. I think
yeah, you actually did.
Didn't you play?
I think you did.
Didn't you play just Cat Control and top hited every GP for 3 months?
No,
That was
that was
later
before.
one.
Yeah,
That was later, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I did top it with the SK, but before I went I think the last Modern GP before that I played Tron.
I remember you played so much
I
Approach
mean,
of the
guys.
Second Son.
No,
Yeah,
I
in
mean
different
I played
formats,
for,
I'm
two
pretty sure as
tournaments.
well.
Yeah,
It was
very weird.
they were different
Standard.
I remember just playing one of your Approach of the Second Sun decks on Moto in one league, and then I cast it for the first time, and then I just miscounted where it was, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna untap and win the game, and instead I untapped and drew a land, and I was like, just basic maths is a bit too hard for me.
Yeah, counting to 7 confirmed too hard. But nonetheless, Zen, how did you end up in the Karnies chat?
I thought I was in it from day one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What?
We were at the later.
That's not awkward.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Zen, of course, is a great friend of ours. We went to New York together, actually, a few months ago with my girlfriend and his girlfriend. and Zen brought me to like every Japanese and Chinese restaurant to eat the best food in New York, of course.
Yeah, that was fun. I think one of the reasons for us to have that trip as well was we were like, oh, we might like, never see each other again. It would be very rare. But then just a few months later, we're both going to see each other again. In Minneapolis anyway, so
Yeah, I definitely didn't have the best feelings going in the tournament. I felt that the Grixis deck was not particularly strong, and I was not particularly good with it. But turns out that Fable of the Mirror Breaker is good enough to carry, and yeah, here I am, qualified for the PT. Very happy with that.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's also, I think lots of people will be really happy to see Andrea Mengucci return to the Pro Tour. Like it's happened, You're there now.
Yeah. Also, I guess I haven't mentioned it yet, which is strange since I usually brag about my results. But I top 8'd. I went to the semifinals and I lost the semifinals to Tor of Severin Esper Legends, close enough to the Worlds to join Javier and Zen. No, sorry, I meant to say Anthony and Zen.
I can understand the error.
No, I was another honest error. But yeah, so no
That's
Worlds
great.
just yet, but I'm sure there's going to be other chances.
Oh, for sure. I don't know. It's kind of remarkable because we genuinely we weren't sure when we would all see each other at a Pro Tour again. Maybe never, and then it happened by the second Pro Tour of the
It was
system.
looking more like looking more like a never. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Here
then
we are.
I don't think we would have guessed this, but
it's kind of funny because at the end of this year, I'm going back to Europe for my partner's sister's wedding, and I was gonna make a big trip to see people like Javier, Simon Nielsen, Matty Quizma, basically all my European friends. That because I was like, oh, I'm never gonna see them again. But then, I'm actually now gonna see them all in about 2 months' time in Minneapolis. So it's a really
And
cool
maybe
surprise.
maybe again in September, right?
Yeah, if Javier wins a few more games, yeah, for sure.
I think
I will
so.
try.
You guys explain me the system for how you requalify to the third PT, playing the second one.
Well, I know the system now, but the thing is, you have to get like 39 adjusted points or more in the two PTs to qualify for the next one. But adjusted points are like points you get after the first 9 points. So wins after the 3 wins count for like discount or whatever. So if you qualify for Barcelona and you make 2 deep runs or whatever, not like decent runs or whatever, then you will have more slots. This way you will have to use X5, I think. I don't remember the cut. I think it's X6. I don't know.
Okay.
Exactly
X7.
So
X7.
so you
Seven.
so you went 11-5 in Philadelphia. So you have
If I go
8?
if I go 8-8, I qualify for Barcelona. Yeah.
okay. So you have 24 points. So you only need to go 8 wins. Okay, now that
So
makes
Minneapolis
sense.
is a big deal to me. Yeah.
Yeah, good. 'cause,
Very big deal.
Our friend Pivo also qualified this PT through the championship, and we were wondering about that. So now I know. That's good. To know.
If he goes X5, he qualifies for next one, of course, but also for the next one.
Okay.
So he'll qualify for 2 of 1 X5.
Yeah, he will qualify for Barcelona for the X5, but also because of this adjusted point, whatever the name is called, he will qualify for also the next one, which is kind of a level. It's not that far, not that far from like the
Yeah, there is
That's a little bit
continuity
like,
to the system.
That's a bit like Silver Pro, right? Where you basically get invited to the next one that you're not qualified for.
Yeah, but you need to do 2 good ones, and then you can bust one.
Gotcha.
Seems
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, so this weekend in Naples there was Yui Jensen. He was there, and he's the how do you say it?
The boss.
The person
He is the director
The-
of.
director of organized play. Yeah, that's the name,
Yeah,
I think.
don't remember his exact title, but that's basically what it
And
is.
and yeah, he's basically the one that made this adjusted match point thing, and I raised some thoughts about some of the current system, and he was like, yeah, it's important that we made the 9-7 and then 10-6 qualify in order to make sure that the match point thing is relevant, the adjusted match point thing is relevant, to kind of like give it a little bit of a old pros club thing.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Gotcha.
I like the system very much.
Yeah, but So here we are. So we are talking about standard in this episode, and all of us four we played in this past week. First, Anthony and Zen, and then me and Javier we played Grixis. Just a regular Grixis, no Atraxa, no anything fancy. Just basically like my and Javier list might be like 5 cards off the one that Zen and Anthony played, which also like basically like every list is very similar. The slots matter until a certain level. The gameplay is actually what. Yeah, I found that just classic mid-range mirror. Every choices matter. It's huge, and yeah, it was very fun for sure.
Yeah, I remember Mengu was stressing a lot about particular card choices or whatever before the event, and I made it very clear to him that I thought it's not. I mean, it's important, but it's not as important as you think it is. You should worry more about being able to play the cards well. That's the most important thing, I think. If most of the lists are going to look similar and all the games are like really long and really difficult, probably don't need to focus that much on the 15th sideboard card or even the 60th main deck card. Worry more about the games. Spend your time efficiently.
I was actually
effectively, I should say.
I think in a previous episode you guys sort of covered this, where you guys are talking about how like in the standard environment currently, which was a few months ago, but also just in Magic design in general now, there's a lot of powerful cards. So like the 50th best card in the format is like quite close to power level as the 20th best card, but it didn't used to be the case before. And
Yeah,
I sort of
absolutely.
thought about that quite a lot when it came to putting together our Grixis list, where it was like, actually the last few card choices, while they did obviously matter, it didn't matter that significantly because your alternative that you play is like quite similar in power level anyway. So like things like, whether you play the 4th Invoke Despair or a Grixis Command or a Blade Core Serpent, like they do lead to different gameplays, but I think in terms of from like a win percentage wise, it's not that impactful.
Yeah, they're all good cards. Like, yeah. I think people talk about power creep in a way that doesn't really reflect what's actually happened, where people tend to think of the best cards being better, but I think the bigger impact on how we build decks and play the game is actually way more about the worst cards getting way better than they used to be. I think the best cards nowadays are like not that much better than they used to be, if they are at all. But the worst cards are way better, yeah, like the 50th card, like you say. So yeah, with deep pools, I think it's less impactful. I mean, you see the same thing in draft, right? So it makes
I don't
sense.
know
I
about
guess.
that though. I don't think that's very true. Like, tell me a standard format that's not like Ursa Saga that will not be ruined by Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Like, they just don't exist, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah, I think the
Fable is
powerful
better.
cards
Maybe
are
the
still
actual
powerful.
best one. Yeah, but I mean, like as a whole, the top class,
Yeah, but I think the power creep issue is not the top 10 cards, but like the actual top 1 or top 2.
I could see
Like
that. Yeah,
the absolute max, like like the Smuggle Sculptor issue, Smuggle Copters or like Fable or whatever. Like the fact that these cards are just like so much better,
well, I tend
they
to think a
actually
top
make the
one,
experience worse.
a top one problem is a lot more fixable than like a top 10 problem, right?
No, it is fixable, but
Yeah.
it's also like worse in terms of like game playing, which is something I also experienced, like like testing for the mocks or testing for the tournaments. Like, yeah, I've been playing the tournament. It's like, yeah, I mean, the best thing I would like to change to my deck is just add more fables. Like, like that's my conclusion. Like, I want my deck to have more fables. I my opponents to have like less fables. That's it. That's what I want in the format right now. And that was my whole like. It was also similar to Filo, where I played a lot of mirrors, and I just, I was happy was doing more fables, but it could have to go the other way around. Like, I think the issue Fable is like an issue for the format, and I think what you guys say is true, but it's only true if there's not like a king on the hill, just warping everything around, which is I think what's happening here.
I guess that's how you get to the point where like I don't know if you saw the tweet. Junimano Depra said that he felt the second best card in standard is Make Disappear, which I think is probably because of Fable.
Well, the second, but
yeah.
the second best card
Yeah.
could be like 10 different answers. Like, you could argue
Yeah.
it's like, Buster, you could say it's Rafine, you could say it's Sally, you could say it's Disappear.
But
like, you could
yeah,
probably make like
number
fair
one.
points. But
Yeah.
anyone that says the first one is not Fable is trolling.
Yeah, I agree
and
with
that's
that.
it.
Yeah.
So I think the standard has a big issue in that regard. But I think the gameplay is like so good otherwise that even if it has Fable, it's still good. I think the games are like interesting. The same as Mango said, or you said, like, gameplay is like very intriguing. Like, it's more important to actually play the games well and just have like this 15 cyborg card or whatever, because the games are very hard. But also most games will not matter. Like these games will not matter because they will have a Fable in 3, and they're just like, yeah, you're gonna play like a 10 turn game where you have like infinite super hard decisions, but you will lose anyway because they've had Fable in 3. That's for me the big issue in the standard. But I think otherwise the format's great.
I was going to ask you why, if you think that Fable is such a big offender, and like, why do you think there's a great player like Gibber Nassif and the German team that brought a different deck? They didn't play Fable, Esper Legends, and they did extremely well, which obviously like could be a reflection to the metagame warping around Fable with like decks that have a good matchup against it and you want to beat those decks. But talking to Nassif, he said that he just didn't feel like Esper Legends was bad against Grixis.
Well, having a card that's a problem doesn't mean I have to play a card. Like, I played Phoenix at PT Hogak, and I played like Red Green in PT Golos. Like having a card warping the format because how good it is doesn't mean you have to play it, and doesn't mean you cannot do well with it, and doesn't mean you cannot exploit that by playing a deck that's good against it. Like, if you play a deck that's very good against Grixis, even though Grixis has a Fable which warps the format, it doesn't change the things. Like, you could play some decks that, like, Tron won the PT Hogak because Tron was good against Hogak. That didn't mean Hogak was good for the format. At least from a, like, enjoyment point of view, like, which is what I'm arguing here. I'm not saying the format's bad. I'm saying, like, for me, it takes a lot of, like, what will make it good, because I'm playing Grixis, I play Fable on 3 on the play, and I'm like, it's you're like 90% to win or whatever. Like, I mean, not as much, but everything is going well.
Yeah, that's a bit of an overstatement, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean, right? Like, you're so ahead. Like,
yeah.
you're so ahead, and usually when you lose, it's because either you severely malfunction big time or you just messed up. Like, if you can just... The games are just, like, about keeping the Fable advantage, which is something that also happens in the Black-Green Mirror. Like, once you have the Fable advantage, it's just all about just keeping that advantage. You don't really advance the game, like, overall, but you advance the Fable game, and that's just very good. But yeah, that's my answer, Mango. Like, I don't think... Like, I think you can think a lot of formats where there was like an oppressive card or whatever, but still tournaments were won by other decks that were, like, relying on that.
I think, that's I know. When I asked the question, I kind of like to hear an answer like this. I thought about the Gruul, when you won the PT with Gruul against the Field of the Dead and Oko. That I think is the biggest example of what you're describing.
Yeah.
I think that, like, in formats where there's, like, these really powerful singular cards that warp games, the decks that are competitive that don't play that card tends to be one that can, like, put together some level of synergy that basically can be more powerful than that individual card. And so, like, Tron's a good example of that, right?
Ideal.
Where Hogak's really powerful, but if you put together the Tron lands, it's really good. And I think, like, with Esper Legends example, obviously it doesn't play Fable, but the deck's just really powerful. It has a really good curve, and the individual card power level is really high. And so I think when that deck curves out, Thalia into Rafine into Sheldred, that's like a draw that can even beat a turn 3 Fable.
Well, Thalia is particularly very good against Fable. Like, Thalia is one of the ways to punish a player for playing Fable, which is something similar, and like that example being put, and also similar historic examples. It's like you play cards that punish people for playing the broken card. That's what Thalia does, and that's a thing. That's a key point we can see in this kind of decks.
Yeah, I actually kind of think that I actually think I might like that Fable exists, because I suspect that if Fable did not exist, that Grixis would not exist, right? And I would much rather, like, have a lot of Grixis and get to play the Grixis mirrors, because I think in general, like, obviously there are the games where someone has an unchallenged Fable and kind of rolls over the other person, but I think most of the mirrors are not like that, because either they can't cast, sometimes they just don't draw Fable early, or you can't play it into their open mana for whatever reason, and then you get some really good games out of that. But if Fable didn't exist, then the whole deck wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't have those either. So I actually think Fable, like, obviously I would prefer that the Grixis deck were enabled by something less polarizing, but I think it's a net positive. Like, I think if you removed Fable from the format might be worse for it, because we would not get to play the rest of the Grixis mirrors,
Yeah, no, the games will be certainly less interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that the decks that are like Fable decks are the best decks or whatever, because they're like very, the games are very interesting. I think the comparison that comes to my mind now is like the Shaman, where Shaman was like a great card and he often like ended games very fast. But also the Shaman decks, especially the Shaman mirrors, they were very interesting, right? And because these decks were interactive piles and the games were very interesting, like very, very complex. I think that, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, of course, but there are some similarities, I think, to the Shaman on Legacy or Modern to this Fable and Standard, I think.
Yeah, I would have compared it to like Loris, I think. But
it's also the same. It's actually Loris is probably more accurate. I don't know. I get maybe not. I don't know. But it's the same kind of card for the same kind
it's
of.
It's also
deck.
not 300 years old, but
also that.
Well, it's exactly
yeah, go on.
It's exactly like Loris in the sense that the Fable player always has it on turn 3.
Wow. Can you guys tell how this guy? Can you guys tell this guy won a standard event recently? You just always have Fable on turn 3. What are you talking about? It's like Loris.
Easy mode.
It's not that you only have it on turn 3. You also have it on turn 4 and 5.
No, that's not actually that good a lot of the time. But anyway,
No?
that I digress. But don't you wish that there was a solution, Javier, that when there's just one card that's just a little bit too powerful in standard and we overall like it, but maybe it was just a little bit weaker? Don't you wish there was a way that it was possible?
You mean like alchemy? Yeah, I cannot think of a way. Like
it would be good if they could just adjust the card a little bit. I think that would be so fun, and so they would make for such great games. But
it will, but I cannot think of a way of doing it. Yeah,
that's really unfortunate. Yeah. Maybe one day Wizards will figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe an arena.
Format of the people.
All right, go ahead, Mango. Sorry.
Yeah, no, the Fable was, I think the biggest oppressive game I had against Fable was when I was playing against Ricardo Biava, who ended up top 25 the BRC, and I went turn 3 Fable, he went end of turn, Leyline Binding my token, untap, Boseju my Fable. Yeah.
That probably isn't right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ended up winning that game. He just said that he just, it was, I don't know.
Emotional response. You see a Fable, you're like, get that out of here. I mean, there's also a little bit of bias sometimes. Like, I remember watching your game 3 in the Swiss against Torolf, and, you played 3 Fables, and people were like, wow, Fable is so strong. But I was thinking, I mean, come on. Torolf has 2 colorless lands in play, and hasn't played a 3rd land. Like, are you sure it's the Fables that's winning this game?
Fable's so strong, mana screws your opponent, man.
Yeah, like...
I do think that it's worth noting that one of the cards that people sort of talk about as dealing with Fable is Lauren of the 3rd Path, but, obviously it's annoying if they play Lauren and destroy your Fable, but, like, that interaction is... the Fable player is still up, because then you attack with a 2/2, you get treasure, so you essentially traded and you got a free Lotus Petal out of it, and I think that's, quite indicative of the power level of the card. Is like one of the most common ways to deal with it in the format. The Fable player is still going to be up in the exchange.
I actually don't mind that in general. Like, I think that often creates... Well, it's unintuitive, but I think it often creates for better gameplay when not everything can be answered completely cleanly, because it encourages you to look for different angles other than just straight up killing a card. And I think it also often adds complexity. Sometimes it's too much, but I think in this case it's pretty reasonable. Like, I think if you can just answer everything, then sometimes it's too clearly correct to just play like entirely answer-focused strategies. But I think you get a lot of, for example, a lot of the reason that Standard has such complex board states is that cards are not answered completely cleanly, and then you have to try to look for different angles other than kill this, draw 2 cards, kill this, I win because I have stuff and you don't have stuff, So I don't know. I kind of like that.
Now, I personally like it when I can just kill my opponent's stuff easily and don't have to think about it too much.
That's fair. Play Make Disappear. 2nd best card in Standard.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else other than the cards itself. Let's talk about the event and how did you guys... How was your event? How many rounds it was? Was it very similar to the previous one, or did you feel a difference between the 2 RC?
I did worse at this one than the previous one, so I don't think I liked it as much. But it was overall very good. I'm obviously trolling. It was great.
I think
it was 8 rounds.
Ours is a little bit different because ours is like basically a 1-day tournament. So it's 8 rounds of Swiss, and then the top eight is played on Sunday, but for most, it's basically like an old school PDQ. So, you have 8 rounds, and to make top eight, you need a 6-1-1 record, and
Yep.
to get the top 12 gets a Pro Tour invite. And so, if you finish 6-2, if you're one of the players with better breakers, you can get in. But yeah, it definitely, like, while playing the tournament, it definitely just feels like one of those old PDQs. But I guess the average player level is higher just because you had to qualify to be there.
Mm-hmm. And you don't get buys like at GPs or whatever. I do think that ours probably feels more like a PTQ plus, whereas yours probably feels more like a GP minus, I guess. Or maybe it just feels like a GP. I don't really know.
For me, it feels like a GP. Like Sofia felt like a GP, and this felt like a GP.
Sweet.
I mean, some people are like, but these have good players, but so did GPs. Like GPs even had like, usually very often you had like these American or Asian pros, just like platinum pros, is coming for PT points or whatever. Like that was very common. You were like 10-1 or whatever, and you face like this American platinum, and that was just like, and they destroy you. And so for me, it felt like GP, but maybe it's me. I don't know about Mango.
Well, it's a one format event, so it clearly you cannot compare it to a Pro Tour. But yeah, I think GPs is a good comparison. I mean, maybe it's just one of these GPs with. The thing is that it's small, right? Whereas the GP was usually 1,500 people. This one was 470 or something.
Yeah, but at some point, like, it's like, I think it's just, this is actually a good size, right? Like 1,500 is actually just obnoxious because logistically it's horrifying. Like, you just have to wait 8 years between rounds or whatever. But
yeah, exactly.
like this is like a good size where it's big enough to feel like it's a good competitive experience. There's a lot of good energy in the room with such a large group, and so I don't know, it seems like it's enough size that you have, there's some gravitas to it, but not like, it's not cumbersome, which I think when you get to these like 1,000-person tournaments it is.
470 is basically the size of an old Australian GP anyway, so.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was pretty ideal. I think that was a good experience. Now you guys get to have it as well.
My first GP was GP Auckland, I think in 2012, and it was about 200 players.
More than GP awkward.
That's small.
It was only 13 rounds.
Well,
yeah.
I guess I'll also make an exception for the Japanese GPs. Like, I played GP Kobe, and that was something ridiculous. Like, it was more than 2,000 players or whatever, and somehow it was still run more efficiently than like the 500-person GPs in Australia. So.
Well, like, we had PTQs that were, I mean, I remember like PTQ Madrid, there was like 400 for Hawaii or something like that some years ago. Like, we had like 300 players PTQs here, or like, I mean, as in Italy also, right? Like, I mean, the idea of like 200 player PTQ, I mean, GP sounds like quite good.
Yeah, I guess the concentration of players and the existence of coverage changes things as well in terms of how the event feels, for sure.
One thing that's a big difference, though, it's the money. Like, there's a lot of money in this event. Like, I made top 4, it was $6,000. Top 16, it's $2,000, and so on. So
that's pretty good.
It's just way more money than a GP, and less money than a Pro Tour. But yeah, not by that much. So maybe the money actually make it feel, it's just important. I mean, just an important event.
But some GP, I mean, there were a few years where GP was 10k first, 6k second, right? The 5k second, 2.5 for top 4. It's more than these tournaments, but not. It's less than this tournament, but not too much less. Like, the winner was 10k right here also.
Yeah.
No, 20. No, sorry, 16. 16.
I think we got
10.
We got 10. Yeah.
And they also invite for Worlds.
Yeah, but it's 16. I mean, yeah, but also GPs had like these PT points where were like eventually.
Yeah. That's true. Good. That's true.
I guess the Worlds invites changes thing too. You're right. Yeah.
Well, but also the GPs like also meant a lot towards like these PT like world races or gold level races or whatever, right? So I mean, I thought these points were like super valuable back in the day. I think it's like a little bit less than GPs, but definitely not like super different.
It's in the same realm. Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, a little bit like maybe like, I don't know, 3% less or whatever, but like very similar.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Nonetheless, it was obviously a very good experience to be in the top 8. Also, I believe the broadcast of the coverage had. People told me about 2,500 people during my semifinals when we were watching. So yeah, that's
great.
That's a lot of people, of course, way less than the Pro Tour, but still, that was a lot of people watching.
That's cool.
A paper tournament. Yeah.
Too bad they saw you losing though.
Yeah, I ended my streak of 11 wins, which is pretty unexpected, at least for me.
That was the
It
only
was
coverage I watched as well, watching Mengu lose the semifinals.
Maybe you jinxed him.
no.
Yeah, I think that sounds like you. That sounds like it was your fault.
Maybe
I
it was
just-
my fault because I also only watched that one. It's
I think I
Wow,
saw him
team effort.
be
Good
stuck
job,
on
guys.
two mismatched swamps, and I was like, what are those two lands? And then they were the same one.
Oh, because you
No,
didn't.
they
think-
were matching.
They were
The-
matching,
The
they
two
were
swamps
matching.
were matching.
they were
yeah.
matching. Also, there's no such thing as mana skew by Andrea Mengucci. So
So, I don't know if did the coverage people tell that it was a mulligan to 6, or they just keep that part.
I didn't. I was not here, and I was with other people. We were just
Yeah,
watching.
so
I
the
think a lot of people did think it was
Mangu,
7.
Why did you keep?
Yeah, a lot of people did think it was a 7. I think going by Twitch chat, which is a phrase that maybe should never be uttered, but I think people did think it was a 7.
I mean,
Even
if you
they
keep
even
that
tell
hand,
us they even tell us to put the dice on the deck so you can see it's a mulligan to 6.
Oh,
exactly.
so that's
They
what that
also
was
said
about.
that.
Okay.
But
I
I
didn't
mean, I
realize.
support your keep. If you want to keep 2 lands, no, only black sources, no good cards you can cast. If you want to keep those, I support you, Mango.
Wow, that's incredible. Javier
mean-
would keep the hand.
I had.
I'm not saying that.
I had
but
go for
yes.
the throat, 2 swamps, and cards.
Yeah,
So I
good
think-
cards.
I think
Fable,
it's a key.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 swamps,
Yeah.
Fable, go for the throat. I mean, I keep these hands every day in all decks.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Because
saying.
all decks I
Javier would
play,
keep
play
anything.
removal.
So
Not anything, though. But if I have 2 lands or removal and a Fable, I mean, what I'm going to mulligan into.
yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, my most I had a game. I had a match against a Patreon of. I haven't mentioned it yet, listeners. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Karnies if you want to support our podcast. No new Patreon these 2 past weeks, but we have a Discord, we have a Patreon, and one of the Patreon I played against them and they won. We were, I believe, 4-2, and this is a funny story. So I kept 6 land Blood Tide Harvester.
A perfect hand in all formats. Oh my god, why didn't you tell this us before? That's
Mango. You have no
Really?
idea.
you have no idea. We can't
course.
explain right now, but this I can't believe you would tell us that. Okay,
We
you
can,
can continue
right?
your story. No,
Okay,
no, I mean,
after
maybe
the story.
Too,
Okay.
yeah, it's no. You go on.
What's going on?
No, you just
Just
continue
go
your
ahead.
story. You just unlocked something. Just continue.
Wait, would you mulligan 6 land Blood Tide
No, it's
Harvester?
a
in the
perfect
mirror?
hand. It's
It is a
perfect.
perfect hand.
No one would
Yeah,
ever
it is a
mulligan it
perfect
ever.
hand.
But go on, please.
Okay, so I go, I think I was on the play, but anyway, he goes turn 1 duress and obviously missed, right? And then I draw a Fable on turn 3 and win the game. Then game 2, he starts with duress again. This time I have a perfect hand, but I lose. And then game 3, I'm on the play, and I have 5 land, 2 corpse upraiser.
Keep.
Right?
Yeah.
And based on how the previous game went, I'm just gonna keep again. And you better believe he went land duress again, and it just showed this hand, drew Razorlash Transmigrant, and just started attacking and won the game.
So if you play against Mengu, sideboard out duress because he'll keep anything.
Because he's also gonna draw Fable
No,
on
see-
3.
No, yeah, game 2, my hand was great, and I lost because he duressed my good card.
Yes, it is. Just keep a hand without them, and then duress doesn't work. So it's like your opponent mulligans.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
So about
But,
this story, about this 6 land and harvester story. I mean, you have an idea, but like, I think the hand is good. I keep that
Yeah,
kind
we
of
know.
hands every time, but some people apparently don't. But Anthony thinks it's funny, but
It
I suppose
is.
you keep. and
Everyone thinks it's funny.
Yeah, so like people think like I'm like just not playing well if I keep in these hands, but I really do keep.
No, I
these
mean
hands.
he has real reasons. So basically, for the previous PT, we have a channel, Keep or Mulligan, and well, the way Javier keeps, someone suggested just making another channel just called Keep for Javier to be in. And he at some point he asked, "Would you keep this hand?" And it was 6 lands and a Blood Tithe Harvester, and people were genuinely not sure whether Javier was trolling or not. Like, are you serious? And Javier's like, "I think it might be a keep." And we just kept talking about the 6 lands Blood Tithe Harvester being a perfect hand all the time, and that your story then involves specifically that, because we were talking about Pioneer, Javier would keep Six Lands Harvester in Pioneer because it's a perfect hand in every matchup. That's not really what he said. It was more contextual than that. I won't go into the details, but Six Lands Blood Tithe Harvester was kind of a running joke for us. So when you just said that just now, it was amazing. Not scripted. I loved it.
I fully support you, Keep Mango. We're Team Six Land Harvester.
It's
Did I not tell you this story already?
You didn't. No, we would have found it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good because that meant that we found it all the more entertaining that you brought it to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
yeah, I'm
wow.
sure Talisker will enjoy the chat here. But anyway, because there was a lot of recurring joke about this keep during the week, which I thought it was honestly just a super fun keep that I don't
Deja
think it would
vu.
raise many
That's incredible.
questions. Yeah.
You're
Perfect
telling
hand.
us.
Yeah.
Oh my god. You're telling me that Mango was like, wow, I kept 6 Lands Blood Tithe Harvester. Now everybody thinks it's a running joke now. Wow, it's in parallel evolution in play.
I mean, I just finished writing my tournament report, which also involves, the classic guide and etc. That's going to be on Channel Fireball, where I say tips to how to play the mirror match. Just make your land drops. Keep 5 and 6 lands hand as long as they have a Bankbuster or a Harvester.
Or Appraiser apparently also.
Or 2 Corpse Appraiser. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that keep was because I knew he was going to go turn 1 duress, so I would have got card advantage with that keep.
Okay, I did mulligan once, the 5 land Appraiser, I think. But the lands were also not very good. I might have kept like 5 lands with like perfect lands.
I kept
No, but the hand was like 5 lands, 2 Corpse Appraiser, and the companion was like a Raven's Crime,
Yeah, 1 extra card. That's so good.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like how you
getting a
your
card.
opponent had a duress, even though they probably play like 2 in their 75.
Yeah, it's about the
No,
soul
he was
read.
playing Rakdos Reanimator. He had 4 duress in the
Okay.
75.
Oh.
That's actually a fair point then. Like, it's not that rare that they can.
Yeah, that's actually
a
reasonable.
little bit
Yeah.
duress. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you would assume I make reasonable plays, right?
I do.
Eh.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know that Karnies have my back when in doubt.
Especially with those keeps, I have your bag, and I also have your keeping range as well.
Yeah, how what an encouragement that is to know that the guy who kept 6 Lands Blood Tithe Harvester would keep your hand, which was 6 Lands Blood Tithe Harvester. That's very reassuring.
Matchup against what matchup it was in Pioneer?
I don't remember the matchup.
It was
but
cruel.
It was probably any matchup,
It was cruel.
Like-
But yes, it's also a perfect hand in every matchup, so it's an irrelevant question.
Do you know that in my semifinal, my opponent kept 2 land Bloodthight Harvester on the play, and on turn 3, he did not make a 3rd land draw.
Do you mean quarterfinal?
Didn't you play semifinals against Esper?
Sorry, I meant to say quarterfinal. Yes.
Yeah, because you didn't mean the semifinals, because that was the one where
Yeah,
they
will
played
have not happened
Esper
with 6 lands
and won.
6 lands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't miss.
You cast your spells.
Perfect hand. Blood Tithe Harvester is basically 2 spells.
It is. I actually think it is.
No, I
Like,
do.
this is
I'm not joking.
Hashtag serious content. Like, Harvester is so good for keeping or mulliganing because if you flood, it's like 2 cards, right? Like, it's like 1 card and then a cantrip almost.
Yeah,
good.
it's a very good card. Harvey's a good friend of ours.
Harry.
I do think
Well,
that's
first
like
name
a kind of an aspect that maybe like beginner players might not appreciate as much. Like, the power of like cards like Blood Tithe Harvest and Fable just being the card filtering means you're just so much more consistent, so you like don't have to mulligan as much, etc. It really just adds up.
Yeah, I think a great part of Grixis' power is its consistency in that regard. Like, it's so functional because of Harvester, Fable, and Appraiser. It's not really like overwhelmingly powerful. Like, it's not like you slam like an Appraiser and they're like, oh no, I'm completely ruined. But it just means Grixis does its thing very consistently. So I think that's
hard to
probably
tell, though.
understated. Yeah, it is. It's obviously
Yeah,
hard to quantify, right?
It's hard to quantify. Yeah, it's also
Yeah.
hard to read. Like, I mean, I cannot exactly know how people perceive cards. I do believe, though, like Harvester is like underrated. Like, I think Harvester is like very good.
Always
I
has
called it
been.
There's like 2023 Tarmogoyf. Well, the card's just very good. Like in the formats
Yeah.
where it's legal, like Pioneer and Standard, the card's just like very good. And we say about like Fable, the Fable Harvester decks, they're strong, but it's like Harvester has a lot to do with it also. Like
Yeah,
Fable is
sure.
good, but it will not be as dominant as it is or strong as it is in standard or whatever without Harvester. Harvester is like 3-2 for 2, sort of removal, but also card filtering, but also like 3-2 for 2, so it's pressure. Doesn't rely on graveyard, doesn't rely on everything. I think the card is like super strong.
Yeah, it
Even
just does
after
so
all
many
this-
small
yeah.
things together. Like it doesn't. It's never like particularly overwhelming. Like the way Tarmogoyf could be. Like sometimes when Tarmogoyf was like a 2-mana 5/6 or whatever, you're like, wow, that's clearly really pushed on rate. But Harvester just adds up like so many small things. Like especially in like Pioneer or whatever, where even like it has the synergy with like Fatal Push or whatever is absolutely massive. For example, or like in previous standard formats, the synergy with Voltage Surge was a really big deal as well. So like Harvester just does like an absurd number of things, small things.
But also like
lots of
synergy
them.
with Atraxa to reanimate, right? Like
Yeah.
because of card, if
Or
a
synergy with
card
Fable
has
of the Mirror
synergies-
Breaker.
yeah.
Like you actually
Yeah,
need
like,
things to copy.
Well, for me, if a card has synergy with like so many different cards that has nothing to do with each other, it's not like synergy exactly. It's just the card's good,
That could be that, yeah. I mean, it just has lots of pieces,
Yep, a lot of things. Like you can pressure, you can answer Thalia, which is also a big part of why these decks don't lose that much against Thalia, right? Like they play Thalia, you play Harvester, and you can trade Harvester with Thalia, and then you play Fable. This happens a lot in Standard and also in Pioneer, and that's an important part of the interaction, I think.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Or even just like killing something and playing Corpse Appraise on turn 3 is really powerful too.
Yeah, also synergy with Appraiser. Like the card just
Yeah,
has
it's
synergy
huge.
with everything. Also synergy with Thoughtseize, right? Because that makes you you can play more Thoughtseizes, or the Thoughtseizes are better.
Yeah, more conditional
Just-
cards, I guess, yeah. So
Yeah, you can play more conditional
Yeah.
cards. Yeah. I think Harvester is an extremely good card. It does look like a classic, like 2-color card from a limited set that never sees place in Constructed, but turns out the card's massive.
You haven't mentioned one great synergy that comes up in Standard, which is you have a Bankbuster and a Blood token, and you can discard the Razorlash Transmogrant.
Oh
bring
yeah,
it
that
back,
too, yeah.
and create a
Just graveyard
Bankbuster.
synergies. Or in
It is-
Pioneer you discard Croxa, like I don't know. Like
Yeah,
just-
also the same Croxa, Razor
Yeah.
Lash. It just has synergies. Just does it all.
yeah, damn.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Do you want to talk about a little bit of the decks that did well in our RC? Most notably, the Esper Legends that 4 players brought and did
5,
extremely
right?
well.
I think it's 5, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would like to talk about this deck because it's kind of wild in terms of like what it did. Like they just
Yeah, it's a great performance.
yeah, like but also like the whole deck building is so just to sum it up, it is basically Esper Legends, but they play 4 winning announcements and 2 Russell Lash Transmogrant, which is like, I mean, a pre-boarded deck against Grixis. Like they don't get much better against Grixis because they're already playing like the full anti-Grixis package.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly is kind of risky because that probably makes your deck way worse against everything else. But I mean, they read the metagame as like Grixis will be in the top tables, and they just in terms of like the performance, they just dominated the tournament, right? Also got like this playing in walls or whatever, but like I think the deck is this was very good building for the tournament.
Yeah, so I played against the Torov 2 times, and yeah, the winning announcement were for sure huge. Just all of it, like drawing cards, saving Danik from a braid.
For cut down,
Yeah.
classic cut down,
yeah,
always
cut
cut
down.
down's always there in your library
Yeah.
just to make sure you draw it once winning announcement flips.
Oh,
So
that's yeah. It's always very
Yeah,
sad.
I decided to only play 3 cut down and add 1 Anoint with Affliction in my sideboard. And just yeah, I felt like with cut down is great to have, of course, in your opening end to answer Athalia at the beginning of the game, but it often ended up being a little bit too expensive
Sure.
later in the game. In fact, sorry, I meant to say a little bit like just not really killing the things that it had to kill, so I didn't want to draw too many. But yeah, overall, I was happy, by the way, with Anoint with Affliction. It killed a lot of things that, it wasn't that easy to kill for 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best answer to Danik, right? Which is a really annoying card a lot of the time. It has a little bit of anti-synergy with your Corpse Appraiser, but I think the job that it does is pretty
sure.
important. Like, mostly just dealing with all these Razor Lash Transmogrants that were going around, I think, and then being a decent card against Esper generally.
Yeah, whenever, so I don't it's so strange, my pairings. I played 15 matches, and I only played against one Grixis mid-range. So I basically just played against only aggro decks. I played against 2 mono white control, and then just Esper Legends, Selesnya Toxic, mono red. Just soldiers, playing 2 soldier decks. Even one was my winning in against a player who arrived at 12th place, which was playing a very strange version of soldiers, playing a lot of cards that I actually had to read. One was Zephyr Sentinel, the flash-flying soldier that returns another soldier. And one was a Cemetery Protector, which actually got blown out.
That card's pretty annoying, yeah.
Because my opponent had 4 mana up,
and
I played Corpse Appraiser, targeted a creature, and then went Cemetery Protector, exile it in response. And I did not see it coming, despite I read the card before starting the game.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy for that to slip past you in open deck lists. Also, can I just say thank you for calling it mono white control and not this absurd mono white mid-range name? Like, that always bugged me.
Yeah, I called it Grande Blanco.
Yeah, because obviously, because it doesn't have counter spells, it obviously can't be a control deck, so it gets labeled mono white mid-range, obviously. Ugh, very frustrating.
2 mana 1/1 ready for the aggression, huh?
Yeah, gonna beat you down, yeah.
Well, the dock or the farmhand, they're ready to attack, and they put you to 17, and that's it.
To 17.
I lost to it in round 7, but then I won against it in day 2. Overall, I feel like it's bad matchup game 1, but it gets better post sideboard. So,
isn't that Grixis? Isn't that most
that's just the story of Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Pretty much every single matchup like this.
Honestly, against all the aggro decks, whenever I opened Brotherhood End in the main deck, I felt like I couldn't lose. The post sideboard, maybe they could go big on me, but the main deck, Brotherhood End were so good for me.
But what if you don't draw them though? Like, you're playing a smart red, you lose a die roll, and you don't have a Brotherhood 10 in the top 10 cards, you're dead, usually.
One of the suggestions that I gave in the article is that against aggro decks, you really just don't have a problem mulligan into 5. Yeah. If you open a hand that, it's not that good against aggro decks, you just ship it back because you don't need that many cards to beat them.
That is very true, but that's also on something we can do in open decklist events, or just playing Marred. I also mulliganed one hand with 4 land 3 spells because the spells were not good and was on the Dragon's Red. Yes. And I think that's very, very, very cool. But also, if you're a listener playing like a Magic Online League or Arena or whatever, well, you don't have the luxury. You're gonna die to Marred with this classic 3 lands, 2 Fables, and 2 Invokes in the draw, whatever. So.
Yes, I believe that aggro decks are weaker, or at least in this current standard. But for this event, I think aggro had this big disadvantage of control decks. But even Esper Legends, just mulliganing to a hand that was good against aggro.
It depends on how you.
Transmogrant.
It depends on how you define disadvantage. Like, it's disadvantage relative to Arena Ladder, but I mean, it's just a slightly different thing in general. How open deck lists work. Like, it would be the same in any important tournament. So, for example, for people who are playing RCQs or whatever that are small, then it's basically the same, because after the first couple of rounds, your opponents will know what you are playing anyway, so it effectively becomes open deck lists.
Yeah, exactly.
So just be careful about how you frame disadvantage. Yeah.
Yep.
Just think about the context.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it could be that, on the Arena opens or the qualifiers, aggro decks can do maybe better on average than in the RC.
Well, I mean, very simply, some decks like Grixis operate better with more information, right? So I don't know. Just
also a combo deck will do worse. Like, if there was a ramp deck or whatever, it would be worse to play this on open deck list. Like, the more flexible your deck is, the more you benefit from open deck lists, and the other way around. Because even if you play Marad and they play Grixis, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're still gonna try to get the 1-drop, 2-drop mana cure for whatever.
Yeah, speaking of open deck lists, I just wanted to bring you back to the RCs in general. I have to say, these RCs being open deck list is it makes the experience so much better as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but especially for these RCs, it's so much of a better experience, because those RCs are big enough that scouting is onerous, but you feel like you have to do it. I mean, you do have to do it to get the maximum advantage if it's not open deck list, but you can just kind of relax between rounds. with open decklists. You don't have to hide anything. Getting cards is a lot easier because after submission you can just go get cards and not have to worry about it tipping people off as to what you're doing. So I don't know. You just said
great.
open decklist, and I remembered. Wow, I really felt it this event that open decklist improved my experience a lot relative to similar events in the past that have not been open decklist. So props to Wizards for that.
One of the things. Yeah,
I was gonna say I agree that open decklist is great, but one thing that I think we just need to be a bit more mindful of is I realized I noticed people took a lot longer during sideboarding, and
Oh yeah, that was annoying.
it wasn't such a problem at the Pioneer RC because of the nature of the format, but for this one it was quite because the games in standard tend to be quite long, and it's quite annoying when you sort of have a Grixis mid-range mirror where there's a lot of 1-ofs and 2-ofs, and your opponent just spending like 6 or 7 minutes on sideboarding when you only have
It's also
sort of
it's also
15,
just
20
more
minutes left in the
contextual,
round.
right? Like in
I mean,
Pioneer,
it
like
take 6 minutes.
Pioneer, I just look at. I mean, I could probably go off your like deck name alone, like Abzan Greasefang, and be like, okay, I bring these cards. Whereas like instead it's like, oh, he has exactly this many Sheoldreds and so on. Like for example, like I changed how I sideboarded in some matches because like the number of duresses my opponent had implied that they thought that Sheoldred was better than maybe the average Grixis play might have thought, or there's similar contingencies like that without going down a whole rabbit hole. So like because that can happen in standard, that actually means that even if you would normally sideboard quickly, like having that list is going to slow you down. So I did find that. I mean, I think in general, slow play was something of an issue at these RCs for various reasons. Both that the standard games are literally very complex, and strategically very complex as well. When I say literally very complex, I mean there's a lot of stuff in play. Like there's like 30 pieces of cardboard on the table. It's hard to do stuff, right? There's just lots of information to process, and they're strategically complex because it's very messy. Like it's not always very clear like what matters in a game, and there are often very tough positions, board states that are developed over many turns. And then also because I think so many people prepared for this event online, mainly like met a lot of people interact with standard mainly via Magic Arena, and that makes them less prepared to play in paper, for example. So I think Zen mentioned specifically sideboarding was slow, but I just think just everything was kind of slow, honestly. I know some people played mono red specifically to dodge that, but I don't know if that's that will be a trend for standard formats in general, but it's something to think about, I guess.
I mean, the thing is, I agree with things being slower. Also, like technically speaking, the open decklist makes the sideboarding a little bit slower or whatever, but I don't think it's a big deal. I think if someone's gonna take 6 minutes for like sideboarding, that's just like
I mean
cheating,
that's probably
like,
an exaggeration.
Slow play, whatever. Just like but some people just take things like super slow for whatever reason.
Right.
I will not mind if we had like 53-minute rounds or whatever. Like
I think that should be longer.
50.
Well, first thing, we don't need like 3 minutes to review at the start of a round.
Yeah,
I think that's a number they
much.
use for the Pro to an hour RC. I don't know if you had 3 minutes as well, but 3 minutes
Yeah,
is
we had 3 minutes.
that's
that
way
wasn't
that's too long.
much.
But
yeah,
I
it was
think-
boring. Like we never, but it was 3 minutes for reviewing and also
Honestly,
shuffling.
though,
But
yeah, exactly. The 3 minutes helped because it made so that at 0 you always play the land and pass the
yeah,
turn.
exactly. It was like 3 minutes to look the decklist and shuffle, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a big issue overall. But I would like, so I think this 50-minute round come from a situation where otherwise tournaments will go like so long. But this tournament was like, thanks to Melee, like MTG Melee tournaments are so smooth.
That's true.
Like they just, less shit happens.
Yeah.
There are way less wrong things. I think the tournaments are like, thanks to Melo, whatever, they are so smooth now, or Companion or whatever.
Maybe, yeah,
Like,
maybe.
we could have 55-minute rounds. And
That would be great.
We will still end way sooner than we would on the pre-technology era, because we were playing tournaments in 2017, like it was like 1993, right? And that's not the case anymore. They're smooth, and I think with this level of smoothness, I don't know if that's a word, but like you know what I mean, right? Like now they work so well, we could have 55 minutes.
That's a really good point I didn't think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that will relieve a lot of stress. I mean, I don't really get to time that often or whatever, but a lot of people are stressed about it, and I think this 5 minutes per round, it's fine. Like I think
It's go a long way. I mean, I think
Yeah.
part of it is also that that of course judges need to be, especially, and they often can be, but more couldn't hurt, you know, to be particularly vigilant about slow play, especially when it comes to these formats. But 55 minutes would also go a pretty long way. And because I mean, I don't know if you had the same thing, but there were just so many unintentional draws. I've never seen so many unintentional draws, I think.
Yeah, but there were a lot, but they didn't make that didn't make the tournament go way slower. Like,
no, it
tournament
did,
was
but that's
still
what I
smooth.
mean. Like, if we could just have fewer unintentional draws, then we could see more matches decided by playing Magic instead of a clock running out. You know, like I think that would be better. So, yeah,
I think they
55
should
minutes would be
consider
great.
it. Yeah, I think they should reconsider like maybe nowadays open decklist, lower games or whatever. Plus, the most important part is like a good software that actually makes things go smooth. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that's.
No, that sounds great.
I mean, I will. That's something to consider at least.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Yeah, that's all good points. I also had two draws, but they were intentional draw at the last two rounds. So if you see that on MTG Melee, don't be like, oh, Mango's well played. No.
A humble brag.
Yeah, that really
I
was.
mean,
Yeah.
I top eighted, so.
So I reverse brag. Like everyone here top 8 NRC but me.
Oh yeah, we can
just
bully
saying.
you for that. That's gas.
Yeah, I mean it's not bullying if I'm the one saying it though.
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit disappointed in us. We really should have picked up on that before you
Yeah,
mentioned
maybe.
it.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah.
You cannot. Like now, if you ever do it, I'm like, you know, I'm.
It
not
feels
gonna
like this
grade
was
up,
like
so.
the only time we would get to do it as well. You know, like we really.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
it's very rare
I'm sure you
that-
guys gonna be. No, I have this like this situation. Like I kind of hope in a way that you all three qualify to Worlds, and I'm at home rooting for you guys. So.
That would be bizarre, but I mean, I think it's quite likely that you'll get there. So.
I mean, it depends on Minneapolis, right? So we'll see. But
does.
I will, you know, embrace that situation and just root for you guys.
We'll see. We'll see. It would be a very entertaining inversion of the last couple of years, but
Yeah,
it would be funny, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Like it's
I'm
funny.
sarcastically think I will enjoy it.
I think it's funny because I don't think it's likely. You know, like humor often comes from a subversion of expectations. So, you know, that's what I think would be going on.
That's a very complex way of saying it, but I agree.
We haven't talked about one thing, is that our the fifth member of the Karnies chat, Christian Calcano, he came all the way to Italy, came in Bologna first,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
then in Senigallia, which is my hometown. We tested 3 days, full days of face-to-face paper Magic. A lot of Grixis Mirror, but also against the Mono Red, Esper Legends, and etc. So I would say that part of my success, and also his success, because he on Sunday played a side event, which was a over 200 people event, and qualified to Athens, which is our next RC, as well as winning, you know, a lot of boxes and store credit and such. So, you know, congrats to Kalk, and again, thank you so much for coming. It was definitely a big part of my success.
Also,
that's
Carl,
kinda
that's how this is the way the system works. Now, Carl qualified for the RC, but he didn't qualify to any RC. He qualified specifically for Athens RC, right? So it means Carl will going back.
You'll
to
see him in
Europe.
Greece.
If he decides to come, yeah,
He'll come,
yeah,
he'll
yeah,
come.
yeah. There's the fourth season into a regional championship once again in 3 months, so you know he could do that again.
That's
Yeah.
like a good trip. You know, you get
And maybe a year as well.
Man, we must have played so many Grixis Mirrors because that was almost the only matchup that I actually tested much because
Well,
I had so
yeah, but
few,
like
I had so
the-
little time.
But then you can play the Mango line where we will play one mirror. You know,
That's actually what happened to
that's
me.
true.
I only played only my last two opponents were Grixis. I was getting annoyed because I'm like I spent a whole day just playing Grixis Mirrors, and then I played against like white soldiers, white. And I was like, are you kidding me? What did I spend all that time for? I mean, it was fun as well. I really enjoyed.
I mean, you guys
that
both
testing.
did well, so I'll say it was fine. You know, like
I mean,
yeah, I would.
if I lost those
On
matches
the-
against white though, because I hadn't played enough against it, I'd feel like an idiot. So
that's true.
On the contrary, there was Pivo, who played 9 mirror match.
oh, that
in
sounds
15
awesome.
rounds
I'm so jealous.
for 14.
The
actually.
Grixis Mirror is genuinely quite fun.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I like
Otherwise,
it.
I probably wouldn't have spent a whole day doing
There
it.
are so many cool games. You know, I like it a lot. Yeah, that's
I learned
I
a
think
lot.
you
as well.
like it as long as you're not on the draw against the Fable on turn 3.
Well, I
I mean,
mean,
sometimes
I also
we
don't
want
like
those.
it when I'm on the play and I play the Fable on 3 also. But other than that, I think it's good.
Sometimes it's more exciting when you win those. So
No, yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. But like, I mean, they felt
yeah, there were just
good,
lots of
but,
different ones. I think that's
No,
something.
I also
yeah.
didn't like the game in the tournament where I won turn 3 Fable, turn 4 Invoke, you die. That was not enjoyable either. You know, like, it's fine, it's whatever. I take it, of course.
Yeah.
But like, Sure.
I got
But
lucky.
yeah, no,
I
I think the
didn't, I
games are
didn't get
very,
any of those. Yeah.
the games are very, yeah. I mean, I have more fun playing Grixis Mirror than playing like Grixis against Mono Red.
Yeah, for sure,
Mono
that
White
makes
also. I only played against Mono White, but we went for the classic. He screws, I screw, he screws. So
Oh,
we never
okay.
played like a long game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm the player when like harvested Fable Invoke or whatever. Like he didn't screw, but I had like the perfect nuts on the play, so it counts as a screw. And yeah, and in three, he never played the third land. Literally, like I just played Fable, and he just died with two lands. So
You know how I lost against Mono White? Because I won game the loss I won game 1, and then game 2 and 3 he stone brained my invoke, and I just flooded to death both games.
wow.
That's
Okay.
yeah, that's unexpected.
That sounds like a
Interesting.
plan they have tried
Yeah,
before.
they clearly-
That's a
yeah,
big
they-
issue with playing
yeah.
a deck like Grixis, yeah. If someone has a plan that can get you somehow, you might not be able to defend that well.
Yeah, if your interaction doesn't line up, then a lot of Grixis starts to fall apart a little bit.
Like once I play the thing, for example, now winning announcement become like, even worse because you're never killing all these creatures are huge.
I think
I don't know. That sounds like something cool, that could work.
one of my best matches. I think
just
maybe
on
my
Mono
best
White,
match that
though.
weekend. You go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, just before we moved on from the Mono White conversation, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Ivan. So he moved from Chile a few months ago to Auckland, and he'd been absolutely crushing the RCQ scene here. And so, for the Melbourne RC, we were all gonna get an Airbnb, but one of our friends pulled out last minute, and Ivan was looking for a place to stay, and none of us really knew him very well, but we're like, oh yeah, sure, like come join us. And he was really big on the Mono White deck, and he'd been playing it a lot on Arena, and we started sort of meeting up once a week to test in paper. And honestly, like if it wasn't for him and sort of his time, us just playing so many hours of Mono White versus Grixis, I don't think I would have been able to learn that matchup very well. And like that whole thing just, I don't know, it made me appreciate like coming back to paper Magic. It felt a lot like testing for the Pro Tour back in the days where you're like playing games, but like the whole time you're just talking about different spots, and you kind of can't really replicate that online. So yeah, it just really made me appreciate
that
us
makes
sort of
sense.
coming back into paper Magic.
That guy, he talked to us about our podcast. Actually, it was great. I had a wonderful interaction with him, where I, in passing, mentioned that Javier is one of my teammates, and he said that he really loves Javier's podcast, which is obviously from my perspective, that is a slightly strange way to refer to the podcast. And he's like, "Oh, I love Javier's podcast, and when I listen to it, he is always the one that I agree the most with." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fair enough." And then at some point he realized, he realized that I am also on that podcast with Javier. And then he's like, "Oh, you're the guy who hates modern," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so he does listen. That's good. That's good. I appreciate that." It's a great guy.
Thanks for listening, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for listening, mate. Yeah, I think what I was saying. Oh yeah, so one of my, I think maybe the best match I played was against a New Zealand player on Mono White as well. Actually, like my first 2 rounds were not as noteworthy, but I played like an incredible match against one of the New Zealand players in round 3, Ben, and yeah, I think the way it ended was pretty exciting. I had to like use every single card in my library to get exactly lethal on turn 5 of extra turns, which is kind of wild. But I also appreciated that he, like, I think game 1 took like something like half the round or more of it, and he conceded very, very quickly in game 2. And I don't know, if he had wanted to, he could probably have stalled me out, but he didn't. So I appreciated that sign of integrity as well, because obviously, like, if I kill him for exactly lethal on turn 5 of extra turns, like, obviously, like, he could have, like, I don't know, if he tanked like 30 seconds more or whatever, then maybe I wouldn't have gotten to have that last turn, right? I'm not even talking about not intentionally stalling, but actively trying to play quickly to try to get a match finished and have it decided by playing Magic is something that I think is commendable. So I'm not so I think that's cool that people are willing to do that, I guess.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Ben Simmons. He's like local player to Auckland. Does really well at the RCQ scene around here as well. Yeah.
Yeah, nice guy. Played well. It was good.
Speaking of modern, Anthony,
Ugh.
something
I
happened
thought
this
what?
weekend.
I thought this episode was only about Stan. I thought we were just gonna do cool
No,
things.
just
We trapped
let's
you,
just talk
Anthony.
about
I'm sorry.
how
I'm
we
sorry.
how we have fun in the weekend.
Okay, then if we're
Yes.
talking about how we had fun in the weekend, I played some more Standard this weekend. I've been testing.
No,
I've been helping
no.
test with you.
Let's
What?
let's talk about the Magic Online experience you had.
Oh yeah. So I did do some Standard on Magic Online recently as well. What?
No, I'm not talking about that one. The one where you played, Archon of Cruelty and cards like that powerful cards.
Oh, you were talking about fun we had. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I played. Because, I mean, Wizards has added more modern challenges to Magic Online for some reason, which means that I can play them at a time that's not, literally absurd. 10 a.m. start, very reasonable, very nice. Appreciate that, I suppose. I would appreciate it if there were events that I genuinely wanted to play, but I'll accept ones that I don't as well. I
So
suppose.
you're saying you played the Modern Challenge?
I guess you could say. I mean, I can't. I can't deny the allegations. I suppose.
Okay.
Did you get your money back, which is the main goal of every modern challenge?
Yes, I
Did you
did.
top 8?
No, I didn't. I went 4-3 in die rolls and also in match score, so that was cool. Yeah, I don't know. It was so brutal. I've had so much fun playing so much Standard. Like, I've just done nothing but play Standard and Pioneer in the world of Magic for like, I don't know how long now. So this was
Also draft.
Oh yeah, then draft. Yeah, I mean obviously, the games are a bit whatever, but the process of drafting and learning about draft is so good. And yeah, it was amazing. And then, oh man, this was a come down. This was really rough.
You will remain the guy that hates modern, according to the New Zealandese mono white player.
Yeah, now a little bit more, but I enjoyed it a little bit.
I don't know. I don't believe you, Anthony. All I hear is like this is how a new modern lover is born.
What are you talking about? Mango's a Standard player now, so why is that not more noteworthy?
I will be again in a few months, but there will be.
What do you mean in a few months?
Still.
It's not that long. The Pro Tour's not
2
that far
months.
away.
When is the PT?
2 months, right?
Ooh.
2
Yeah,
months or 2 and
it's
half.
a little bit less than it's
Less
about 2
than
months.
2
Yeah, less than
months.
2 months.
Yeah.
So we have to learn Standard and we have to learn draft.
It sounds like Andrea Mengucci, the Standard player, is back, and I just want to point out that Javier and I have always said that you need to play Standard to fully develop as a player. I think, and look at that, Mango started playing Standard again, and now he's back on the Pro Tour. Do you think it's a coincidence? No, it isn't.
Yes, because it could
is.
have been modern.
Actually, yeah, it is actually coincidence.
Nope.
No, but I think the thing that I will be doing for the first time in a lot is drafting, because I haven't took seriously a draft format in very many years. Like the last time is probably Theros Beyond Death that I actually Ikoria. Ikoria is the last time that I took
Oh wow.
a lot, very many drafts in to be prepared to compete in a high level tournament.
Doing
So
high level
that-
draft
that
again
would
after
be-
so long. I mean, I guess I wasn't here last week, so I didn't mention it, but doing high level draft again after so long was amazing. Like, wow, I really forgot how good drafting is, because we just didn't need to do it for so long, right? Like, it just didn't matter. Like, if you weren't like drafting, if you weren't playing those very high level arena events that didn't have many players in them, draft didn't matter that much. And now it does again, and it's awesome. I don't know. I really forgot how good how wonderful that experience is of like a professional level draft. So I'm really excited for that again. Draft and Standard. Oh my god, what a tournament!
Next time we try to win more rounds in draft, though, Anthony.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
I know it's fun, but it's also even funnier if you don't.
If you win. I mean, I won a decent amount before the Pro Tour. Does that count?
That's true. Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony had like a wild in draft too. He had like this 4 or 5 color like deck with like wide red with like black and Glissa or something like this.
Oh
It's a
yeah, the
wild
classic, the
Anthony
mana
deck.
base of Doom. Where I am like a base red green deck and also have Glissa and White Sun Zenith in my deck.
Yeah, like it is
Yeah.
like you look at the deck and like I don't even know how the mana base is gonna work, but good luck, my friend.
I'll give you a hint. It didn't. So
Yeah.
it was a fun experiment though. And what is day 2 of the Pro Tour for if not for experimentation? You know?
Yeah, science has no limits there, right? In the PT, you
Yeah.
always can pick the car for the first time.
Look, you have to find out at some point. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've been guilty of playing the car for the first time in the PT Limited, and I'm sure I will do it again. So that's a good thing. That's a cool thing, though. You in PT playing, you have your rare, you never played with it, and you hope that it's just as good as your teammates say, because maybe you just sort of speak it or whatever. I like the feeling.
That almost came up for me because like I opened. I didn't know how good the red Dominus was because obviously it looks like it's a very strong card, but I wasn't like entirely sure. And I actually opened it in like a fun draft that we did on the Thursday, and I was like, oh, I guess at least I know this card is good now. And then I opened it again at the Pro Tour the following day. I was like, I'm really glad that we did that last draft.
Testing paid off. Huh?
Yeah, it's very in a very direct way. That's cool though. Yeah, ideally we'll win more. That would be nice. But we'll win.
All right,
Mangu,
Mengu, Seni, Anthony, what do we have left to talk about?
I just gotta say that I'm also really looking forward to sort of drafting at a high level again, and I think one of the ways that me and Mengucci bonded, as like when we were on the PT together, was like we just draft together, sort of do Magic Online, screen sharing, and yeah, that was
it's a lot
fun.
more. Yeah, you can. Drafting is something you can do together, like in a more clean way than constructed. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure exactly why, but that's how it feels.
Why did you call me Mengucci? Am I like, are you my teacher?
Yes.
I don't know.
I mean, in terms of draft, he is, right?
I always call you by Mengu and Mengucci. I never really call you Andrea.
No, I'm Mengu, it's fine. I accept that.
But for real, I think people wouldn't know, but I think Zenny probably really was your teacher in terms of draft. Like, Zen is generally an excellent track record in limited.
Zenny was my teacher.
I think so.
Yeah, I remember. We would. I remember like in my morning, it was your night, and I would just be watching you from my bed the whole morning while you were drafting at your night before traveling to the PT. I have fond memories of that.
I remember at PT Dominaria, me and Simon, we took the train from wherever we were staying to wherever the Pro Tour was. I don't remember, but me and
Richmond,
yeah, me and Simon liked the black-white archetype, which I think you didn't really like or just hadn't really heard of. And then on the train, we opened like 24 boosters, and we did this weird thing where every single player in this draft hypothetically was forcing black-white, and then afterwards we like revealed what the decks would look like, and we were like quite impressed by how good the decks were. And then I think on day one of that PT, you actually drafted black-white for the first time in 3-0'd.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, one of my draft strategies, which is definitely not recommended, and I'm not here to say this is the way to go, is you practice, you try everything, and then when it comes to the PT, you actually force. Like, you force the maybe one or two archetypes that you like the most. Like cutting colors, in the sense that I only like 3 colors out of 5, and stuff like this. This was my strategy, which again maybe worked because I got lucky, but I remember just forcing archetypes way more than other people.
That's I am other people.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's a very.
I see some merits to the strategy, though.
Yeah.
I think that kind of approach to draft is actually underrated. Like,
I
I
think
understand it's
sure.
not like the absolute best, but it does cover you a lot. It makes sure your training with percentage is like lower, blah blah blah. So it has some upsides.
If anyone does want to watch a really good lesson in that, if you YouTube for Li Shiqian's first draft from Pro Tour Armankit, he does this really clever thing, and I remember Twitch was going crazy because they just couldn't understand it. But in pack 1, he basically picked every single white card that he could see to just completely cut off the color. And then I think in the third pack he was rewarded with like a 4th pick Glory Bound Initiate. And he ended up with a really good deck. But obviously I don't necessarily recommend always forcing, but if you sort of want to see how to force properly, I think, as sort of Mengu mentioned, it is quite important to also cut colors really hard as opposed to just forcing your specific archetype.
That makes sense. And Lee was a huge fan of that.
one of the strategies that I remember me and Lee agreed with was to send signal, because if you just receive signals, of course you're gonna have two packs where you gain advantage, whereas if you send signal, you're only gonna have one pack, which is the second pack when you're gonna get the rewards, which obviously doesn't make much sense in theory, but I don't know, just going into a draft knowing that there's 3 or 4 archetypes that I don't like to draft, I would most likely just manage to avoid them entirely and just draft something that I had a winning record or I just liked with in preparation.
Jeez.
All right. I think that's the Mengu method of drafting. As you said, that's not necessarily recommended, but it's something you have to try before going to the PT, though. If you're thinking of doing it, Mengu has done it for years, and
worked out pretty well.
It worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it worked pretty well for him. I'm looking forward to drafting also, but for me the experience was it was 2 days or 3 where I didn't know what I was doing, but then it was like, wow, this is the same thing as forever. Like drafting, the formats are different, but drafting is the same. For me, it was the opposite experience of I also drafted a little bit more. Like I never prepared the tournament seriously, whatever, on these pandemics and such, but I did draft most of the sets, at least until the Dungeons one or whatever. Like I drafted some sets here and there. I also drafted a lot of Theros, Ikoria, whatever. So I didn't feel like drafting was that rusty. It was rusty in terms of high level or whatever, but it was just fine. And I also wouldn't mind if one of these RCs was limited. Obviously that's not gonna happen anytime soon, but I would like the idea in a way, like one of these Naples Sofia tournaments for me.
I think my best memory is when we prepared for the team series in Austin, and we just stayed 5 days. We were drafting only team drafts for Theros Beyond Death, which it wasn't even out yet. We just got the packs from Wizards to practice for the event.
No, that was wild. I loved that tournament. I mean, that finals of the team series is playing the finals. We were also kind of the underdogs anyway, but we got there, and that's super cool as well. Because these players had played a lot of team limited with each other or whatever, but
Finkel, Yui, Reed, and etc.
Yeah, ultimately though, Mengu was unstoppable and carried the team, the whole army. Mengu undefeated
by forcing white-black both drafts.
Forcing Mengu was I'm gonna draft my way. I'm just gonna force whatever. I don't remember if you were forcing which archetypes you were forcing, but you were I'm gonna force my way, whatever. I'm just gonna play as I play. And I remember also Kowalski was he was cutting all the decks from everyone. Remember this? Greg always had this. They was cutting a lot of team drafting aggressively. It was it was quite an experience.
Oh yeah, I remember drafting Black Green Escape, which I knew was the best archetype, and I drafted it. I remember, but yeah, of course, team draft, and somebody passed you a bomb rare, wasn't it?
I don't remember actually. I think I had a Erebos or something, but Hui just destroyed me. Hui had a great deck, and in the finals I just lost to him easily, but due to carried.
Yeah, I in the finals. I think we played against. That was the semifinal. We played against Sperling, Ritzel, and Kuno. That was the final.
Yeah, and but who you? I also lost. I think no. I don't remember actually.
I think you didn't finish because me and Gregor finished first.
Exactly.
I have this feeling.
I think that might be the case. I don't remember. I remember just so much happiness. Hey, I got there.
Yeah, the team series we never got any trophy of.
Yeah, that makes me sad because I forgot about it. Now I have this shirt we used to, the Harrier sword or whatever. I have this shirt next to my trophy, so I remember about this. So I will never. To me, it's that's my trophy. I made this shirt a trophy, so it's
Somehow I feel Javier has enough trophies anyway. He's fine. He'll be fine.
I mean, it's not. I don't have a lot of trophies, but also even if I had a lot of them, they were still every trophy is a memory for me. It's when you look at pictures, and you're wow, the tournament. So I look at the trophy, and I'm not oh, I won the tournament. It's oh, I remember the tournament because I went with this friend and I had this memory, and this happened, and that's pretty cool. That's why I like the trophies actually. They're memories. Hopefully, it will
that makes
stick with
sense.
me for
A
as long as I
keepsake.
can,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
All right. Yeah, that was good. I think
Are
it's.
we ready to wrap up?
I think we are, but maybe we're not. I know Seni. By the way, thanks Seni for coming here to, chat with us in the Karnies.
Record at 5 a.m.
Yeah, good morning, Seni.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and to be fair, I enjoyed being here, but I'm kind of glad that when you guys initially started the podcast that I declined joining because it is quite tiring to do so early in the morning.
Are you going
That's
to take a
okay.
nap now, or are you going to stay awake?
No, we got a dog earlier this year, and so I usually walk her at about 7 a.m., which is in about 15
Oh,
minutes
so this
time.
lined
So
up. Okay.
yeah, I just I'll line up pretty well.
Okay.
Zeni.
Well, we'll bring
Okay.
him back when he wins another regional championship.
Or
so-
Waltz.
All
Or
that.
Minneapolis.
All of those are allowed as well. Yes.
Okay.
Benny, I'll be realistic. We will invite you when maybe like Anthony or Javier aren't here, and we just need a third person.
Yeah, and then I'll
Yeah, we
probably
can
say
maybe
no
make it
as well.
later.
Okay. Well, you certainly lowered the stakes.
No.
Yeah, you did say no many times, and I asked you, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm glad that you finally accepted our invite. And
Yeah, special occasion.
Yeah, I
One
think.
for celebration.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
next
I
week though
really
we will
enjoyed
come
it.
back to the next week we'll come back to the actual like normal schedule of having a lot of formats and talking about what's up. We probably just also will check what happened this week a little bit more in detail in terms of formats, but modern talk, the format of the people, everything else will be back soon.
Yeah, we're just chilling
yes, for sure.
today. But
Is there an arena championship final this weekend too? Right.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
there is.
So
We'll
we will be talking about that as well. But until next time, this was episode 28 of the Karnies. You can find us in every podcast platform, on my YouTube channel, and you can support us on patreon.com to join the Discord. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a
thank
great
you.
week.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Bye guys.